All right, guys, let's talk about Mockingjay. Welcome back. If you've been following my kind of Hunger Games first read, um, comparable to the movies, I finally did it. I'm finally done with Mockingjay. Spoilers, of course. This was my least favorite. I think this was my least favorite of the movies. I thought the movies were a little too long. I don't think they needed to be split into two. But look at when this movie came out, everybody was doing it, so this needed to do it too, apparently. Um I thought man, the book and the movies were just way too long. Um like I felt like everything just took forever. Like saving Peta took forever. Like dealing with Coin and dealing with her shenanigans took forever. Like Katniss finally having her mental breakdown just felt like it took forever. And then you have her feelings with Gale, that took forever. I think by the time we get to the Capitol and we get to the point where we're gonna kill whoever we decide, because Katniss decides, oh yeah, we're gonna do a big, huge last Hunger Games. Obviously, if you've read any of the other books and if you were just paying attention to the scene, that Katniss and Haymitch would not have agreed to that if there wasn't an underground reason why. And that kind of ruined it for me. And then you find out Gale ends up being part of what kills Prim. I think Katniss finally losing Prim, which is her major reason for living, was kind of the nail that hit the hammer for Katniss to finally have a full mental breakdown. And I was waiting for it. To me, the first Hunger Games ended a little too smoothly. Like, she seems like she's kind of intact, and then you go through the second Hunger Games with her, and you can tell that Katniss is finally breaking down. And then to become the Mockingjay in this third, like, you can finally see in her, like, I'm tired. Like, and I don't blame this girl at all. I thought that Jennifer Lawrence does a really good job with Katniss. I thought some of the reason why I think this movie did not need to be so long is because, like, she just acts it in a way that she doesn't have to give, like, all the speeches that she does. Like, they made sure, like, every speech was in those movies, like, I swear. Like, the scene where she's like, Snow, you burn with us. That was very important to keep in, but some of these other ones, I'm not too sure. But it's just, she keeps on seeing this destruction over and over and over again. And the thing that, so we finally get to the Capitol. Like, we go through all the districts, we finally get to the Capitol, and something, I guess it's because I read Songbirds and Snakes and then went back to these books, is we finally get to see Tigris. So, a disappointing thing to me is, in the short span of those 3 books, like, we know Tigris was a fashion designer for the games. Snow probably allowed it. Like, Snow was like, hey, this is my cousin. She's really good. She helped Lucy, I think her name's Lucy. Lucy with her wardrobe made her look really fantastic. This is kind of the way that we're going to be doing the Hunger Games in the future. So she's going to be involved in, she must work for the Capitol or something, because I don't remember like her being really mentioned at all. Minus when, you have to fill in the gaps. Because you would think, like, if she was still part of, like, the whole thing, you would thought, Trinket would have said something like, oh, yeah, like, she would have mentioned Tigress at some point. She doesn't really. The only reason why we know that she exists, especially if you've read it out of order or in order, based on the timeline, a Songbird of Snakes, and then, you would read the new one, which is a Sunrise and the Reaping, and then you would read, the trilogy if you were reading in timeline order, which is, no, because I'm still reading. Anyways, yeah, so, and the ending is not what I wanted it to be. I think having it as Peeta got everything he wanted, yay, is just not, was kind of a nightmarish thing for me to see Katniss go through, because I don't think she's healed even by that point. Like, I think in a lot of ways, like, she's never going to be healed. She's always going to have, like, the PTSD from everything she went through. And, like, I don't blame her. I'm thinking this is probably, like, 3-4 years of her life. It could be longer. Like, that's just kind of how I'm getting at. Because you have, like, the first Hunger Games, and then you have, like, everything she went through, and then you have the second Hunger Games. So they only do a Hunger Games once a year. So that would be, like, your second year, and then her leaving would be, like, kind of going into her third year of her life. So, I mean, seeing, like, all this torment 3 years of your life, like, you're gonna need some epic time to recover. And I think without having Prim, like, a scene that really hit me in the movies was she throws rocks at the cat, which I forgot that was Prim's cat, and now I understand. Like, because I couldn't rewatch the movie, so I was rewatching scenes, and you're that was, like, one scene that you're like, oh, Katniss is kind of, being terrible. Like, animal abuse, Katniss, like, really, but she's angry because Prim is gone. Prim was her only reason for existing. Prim was the reason why she went into the Hunger Games. If it was Prim in the Hunger Games, Prim would have been dead in the first book. And Katniss knows this. Peeta would have not protected Prim as much as he protected Katniss. I could already tell you that from his obsession with Katniss. He might have protected the sister, maybe. It would have become, Peeta would become Gale at that moment, where Katniss has somebody to blame, and I think that's why she picks Peeta, is just because of what Gale does at the end. I think Gale, for the most part, could have been a good contender if we were even really going that far. I don't think so. I think, in all honesty, I think her ending up alone, and you get to see by the end she kind of is recovering, is kind of back in that that realm of um like I'm feeling better. Like I'm stable now. Um and I think that's really where I wanted her to be personally as somebody that was following the story. Was I really wanted Katniss to just kind of be alone. Like I think it would have hurt her for a while. Like I think she would have maybe I don't think she would have been down the road as Haymitch was with the drinking and stuff and like overusing of drugs because Haymitch was still there. Like Haymitch moves back to District 12 and they're like neighbors or something. So I think Haymitch would have made sure like she wouldn't have gone down that road. Um but you know, because he's been there, he's done that. Like he's had to see things too. So it's just like this whole thing is like I think they would have maybe bonded a lot more and eventually like she would have recovered. I just think I wanted a little bit more of her recovery time. If they were going if Suzanne Collins was going to end this with Peeta being with her, like I think I wanted like the end of all the chaos and then like maybe 3 or 4 years where she's like trying to heal and then Peeta comes and's like, hey, do you want to get together now? But like I think it's so rushed and I get that Suzanne Collins probably did not want her last book to be like 400 or 500 pages. And I think that's probably what it would have taken for Katniss to go through full recovery and stuff like that. Um Not like I'd want a fourth book. Like I think The Hunger Games is good as a trilogy and then we have these separate books about some of the other different characters and what led up to the trilogy. I think is fine. Is it a little fan servicey? Yes and no. I think there's a lot of stuff that's not completely explained. Like if we didn't have Songbird and Snakes, like we wouldn't have known who Tigress was. So that book of Songbirds and Snakes really added to the character of Tigress, and then it just like leads to more questions like, well, what happened with her and Snow? And I don't think we're ever gonna get those answers. Um and then you have a Sunrise and the Reaping, which is Haymitch's game, so we get to see kind of why Haymitch is the way he is. And I think that's fine. But as Katniss's story, this was perfectly fine. I don't think I need any more of Katniss, like, and another book of her story. Like, I think this ended in a way that it's gonna please some fans, it's not gonna please others. It's like a final book of any trilogy. Like you're gonna have your diehards that say it ended extremely well and it ended the way I wanted it. Then you're gonna have people that are like, I think she should have been alone. I don't think her relationship with Peeta, I think it's like it's a trauma bond. I was watching another YouTuber, a couple of YouTubers saying she's asexual. That could be a possibility. It could either be that she picks Peeta because of the trauma bond, or she picks Peeta because he's the only one left. That she trusts, and then she's like, okay, well, I'll give you what you want, but then, like, it's not a happily ever after with her. And Jennifer Lawrence, like, kind of facial expressions at the end kind of give me that kind of sense. Like, she does, like, she smiles a little bit, but you can tell, like, Katniss with Jennifer Lawrence's acting, which she does a phenomenal job. She understands Katniss probably more than anybody else in the world could ever understand this character, because, like, she smiles, but you can tell that there's still the trauma there. You can tell that Katniss is not completely happy. And I am not surprised by this. And I think Jennifer Lawrence does such a good job with the acting of Katniss. Like, she gets her sass. Like, I think she makes her even more sassy. Like, she really brings that out in Katniss, which I love. I think that was a good add-on to her character, to be a lot more sassy, to put on more of a performance. The guy that plays Peeta is actually really good. Like, I give Peeta a lot, like, I've given Peeta a lot of hate with my review of this series, but I think there's supposed to be points that you love the character, and there's supposed to be points that you hate the character. And I think it's the same with Gale. Like, Gale goes down a really dark road by the time we get to the third book. And yes, it's all the hatred to the Capitol. We can blame the Capitol for everybody going, like, the wrong dark direction, but I think Gale was kind of meant to. Like, I think if Gale was part of the Hunger Games, like, he would have won, and I think he would have won fiercely. I don't think he would have had as much of a heart as Katniss does in the games. Like, I think he would have went to destroy so he could feed his family. Like, where Katniss went into the games to protect her sister, Gale would have went in to destroy. And that's with little character development that we get from his character. Like he's such a flawed character. I feel like it's so one-dimensional when you really look at him. It's not like some of the other people that we bring from Catching Fire that, like, their hatred for the Capitol makes sense, and the Capitol's led them down this road. Like, I don't think a lot of the people that are in that end up in District 13, that help District 13 with a lot of their stuff, would have gone down that road if it wasn't for the Capitol destroying them mentally. Yeah, I think it could have been shorter. I think, and I kind of want to go to a little bit further back than the ending, and I want to talk about Snow and Coin, and why I think that had to be the case. You knew Snow was going to die. Snow has had so much poison and so much antidote and all this other stuff. You know Snow is going to die eventually. But Coin is, like, in good shape. Like, she could be living for another 20, 30 years. I don't know how long, like, how old she is or anything like that. But when you look at it from Katniss's, like, she made the good choice. Now, and then with everybody else trying to destroy Snow, I think that right there was the best choice. The people got what they wanted, which was Snow still dead. She broke the cycle because Coin was just going to do the same thing based off of kind of where she was at the ending. So she did the right thing. And she plays coin all the way through. Now, making her. This is the whole thing that kind of drove me nuts by the third film and the third book was it still felt like we were in the Hunger Games in a different way. Like we're reacting to the destruction. And Katniss is not great. Like she comes up with some of the really good lines. Like don't get me wrong, but Katniss is not who you want as really the Mockingjay, minus that she's won like two Hunger Games she's won, but she's not the actress. That was like why Peeta was so good and why I think she got a lot of sponsors, because I think, she's the underdog. She goes in because her sister, so she's protecting her sister. Crowd really loves that. And she shows off her talents with the bow, and she's showing her rebellion in the beginning. So her being a symbol of the Mockingjay makes sense. Her being like the spokesperson for District 13 does not. Like, I would have thought it was be somebody else. And then she's just like, I don't know, like the underground person or something. Like, it didn't make sense for me for that reason. And then, like, she now again is having to face, like, being on the camera and stuff like that. And I don't know. I didn't like that part of it. I didn't like that propaganda. I think, in all honesty, we could have had a couple of scenes. We could have gotten to the Capitol a lot quicker. Like, we could have gotten to the Capitol way quicker, had all the Capitol stuff, and then we could have focused more on her recovery towards the end. Like, she loses everybody, minus Peeta and Haymitch, I think are the only ones left. And how some of these people die is, like, horrific. Oh, and I think Trinket, she survives too. So you have her kind of two mentor people survive, and then, like, you have Peeta, so it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna end up with Peeta because that's all she has left. It's kind of how it feels, and I didn't want her story to feel like that at the end. I wanted it to feel like, like they've created, like, such a severe bond, and not just a trauma bond, like a real bond, and then she's like, okay, this guy is not too bad. Like I don't, the whole thing. But yeah, so I would give The Hunger Games 5 stars. I think it was really well done. I would give probably Catching Fire, now really thinking about it, maybe like a 4.5. This was a 3.5 to 4. Like, I still think it was good. I think it was necessary, but there was some things, like, I think we needed to, like, look at that we didn't get to really see. And then with these other books, like, I think I gave a Songbird and the Snakes like 3 stars. And then I haven't read Sunrise of the Reaping. A friend was able to loan me their copy, so I'll be reading that soon. But I don't know. I don't know if we know that she's bringing out another book. It's already been announced. I don't know if I'm going to read it. I kind of feel like I really like Haymitch as a character, so I really want to read that book. And then Snow's backstory was, really interesting to me. But everybody else, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much overlap now with everybody. Unless we got like a Tigress book that explains all that. And like, I think that's, or I really want it to be like the first Hunger Games or before the Hunger Games. And see that, because we still have some characters, like we would still have Snow. Snow would be old enough to know that. We would have maybe even Katniss's parents. They might be old enough to know what happened, like before the districts became the districts. Like that's that to me would be like the ultimate book, because it's hinted at a lot in Songbird and Snakes because of the fact that Tigress and Snow were involved. So you got a lot of what the capital was looking like during that time. You know that their father shamed the family, and stuff like that. So sorry if that's a little bit of spoilers for Songbirds and Snakes if you haven't read that. But that's kind of the direction I hope Suzanne Collins goes to eventually. Like, she stops like focusing on these big time characters and then just does that. I think that's the direction I kind of want the books to go towards, but we'll see. We'll see if it happens. But anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching all my other videos. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye.